Hello and welcome to Murphy's Garden, and you join me today on this beautiful autumnal day in the county of Essex. I'm at Hyde Hall, one of the RHS gardens, and if you're looking for inspiration for late autumn and winter, there's so much to see, and as you can see behind me, the fantastic colour. So we'll go and explore this garden. I think a lot of people think that once we get into November, then really there is no point visiting gardens, as the best show of any garden is always in the summer months. The last time I visited Hyde Hall was in the summer, and indeed the garden looked amazing. The perennial borders were at their peak, and the dry garden, for which Hyde Hall is famous, was stunning. This part of Essex is one of the very driest parts in the UK, and so looking at plants in the dry garden is great for ideas on what plants fare best in hot, dry conditions. But just as the herbaceous perennials look amazing in the long days of summer, and the roses are at their peak in May and June, there are so many other plants which do their thing as the days shorten and the light softens, and the garden often looks most magical and definitely photographs really well at this time of year. Here at Hyde Hall, like other RHS gardens, an event called Glow draws in visitors even after dark, when the garden is lit up and plants and trees are illuminated with coloured lights. You may notice as we go round that the staff are busy preparing to welcome visitors to this event, which runs from November through to January, and you may notice rather a lot of wires and cables surrounding plants and trees. I've never been to one of these events, but it certainly looks magical, and it's a great way for the RHS to draw people outside into their green spaces in the long winter evenings. However, on a bright day like today, we have no need for lights. The garden is naturally illuminated by this beautiful winter sun. We'll head first into the winter garden, where we can see just how interesting and stimulating to all our senses plants can be even at this time of year. Light is paramount in the winter garden, and as we turn and travel, we see how light transforms plants. The intoxicating smell comes from the tiniest flowers, and there is an impossible to resist urge to touch the deep, rich textured barks of the trees. The garden is an abundance of structure, and from the silhouetted bones of dormant giants, buried treasures are scattered through the skeletons of the summer. The variety of colour hues of stems and ebbing foliage is quite remarkable, and the evergreens provide a sense of permanence against the architectural husks of a herbaceous past. This garden epitomises how nature's artistry in a garden continues throughout winter. And nothing beats ginkgo biloba for beautiful yellow colour leaves. And when the leaves fall, they all come off at once. So this one's still got its leaves, whereas the other one has dropped pretty much all of its leaves. This is a good combination. We've got some hydrangea paniculata hydrangeas, then we've got the calamagrotus feather reed grass mixed with Cornus sanguinea, Annie's winter orange. So that's a lovely combination there together. So you will see that the garden has lots of sculpture throughout the planting, which becomes more evident and more of a feature at this time of year. However, the winter garden features living willow sculptures, which are creatively bent and shaped into organic shapes. The sign explains how it is done, so if you wish to create the look, simply pause the screen to read the instructions. And what a lot of work it must be to create these works of art. They just look amazing. I've never seen anything like this before. It's so unique. And they also use stems really creatively in and around pots, just to give the extra wow factor and architectural form. And we see these dotted throughout the garden, so we'll see some more as we travel around the garden. And I recognise this lovely little plant. This is Pinus strobus tiny curls. Next we will head into the dry garden, which looks very different from when I last saw it in August a couple of years ago. At this time of year, the colours are subtle and soft, and the flower heads of the grasses give that tactile quality. Evergreen pines punctuate the area, and the sculptures add a trail of interest which depict various animals and fables about each. In 2016, the RHS, in conjunction with Reading University and the University of Sheffield, produced a report into gardening in a changing climate. The aim was to use climate change projections to consider consequences for gardening and horticulture, along with projections such as longer growing seasons, increased solar radiation and increased extreme rainfall events. One prediction was particularly important for the southeast of England, was that dry spells will occur more frequently. This garden aims to demonstrate what can be achieved without the need for artificial irrigation and give inspiration for local gardeners to try some of these plants in their own gardens too. We will head now to the upper pond, which is dominated by specimen trees such as corkscrew willow, but I think the star tree has to be this swamp cypress, which has turned a beautiful russet colour and looks stunning in the autumn sunshine, and it's mirrored in the reflection of the water. There are also colourful dogwoods and willow stems, but let's go and look at the swamp cypress in greater detail. Taxodium distichum is a pyramidal conifer with fisher red bark and pale green yew-like foliage that turns an attractive russet colour at this time of year in autumn. It is one of few deciduous conifers and can grow to 20 metres by 6 metres. It has rot-resistant wood, which means it's suitable for wet sites, and it grows these funny-looking woody projections which are called knees, and they protrude above the water level. It was thought that they acted a bit like snorkels, providing oxygen to the roots. However, there's little evidence that this is the case, and the function may be just to stabilise the tree in flooded, unstable ground. These are the herbaceous borders, which are surrounded and divided by yew hedging. They make up little zones, and in the summer we saw that each one had different colour themes, so it's a good place to come for a lesson in working with the colour wheel. At this time of year, of course, all that remains are the dying forms of the plants and grasses, which have their own fading beauty, a little bit more subtle than perhaps the summer beauty, but they will be left over winter to provide habitat and food for the birds and insects, and then cut back in the spring, ready for the show to begin again next summer. I think though, as it's autumn and the very best display comes from the trees, I think we need to go and find more trees to marvel at. And this is a tree that we're very excited to see. This is Amilanchia grandiflora Robin Hill. This is the one we have chosen for our garden, and it's great to see it growing just as we want it to, in a very upright way. And another beautiful tree, Coleteria paniculata, or Pride of India, or Golden Rain tree as it's called. And look at this for a display of orange colour, absolutely fabulous. This is a cotinus, or cotinus as I've also heard it called, and this one's called Grace, and that's an incredible colour, looks really, really good, so that's worth investigating. And this tree is Parotia persica, also known as Persian ironwood. Look at the colouring on the leaf, it's spectacular, really lovely. Deeply veined leaves, and this is the Parotia persica. We've got the Parotia persica vanessa, which is a more upright form of this tree, but lovely to see it growing a mature specimen, and as I say, we've got this tree, so this is one of the ones that we'll be planting soon. Another favourite of mine, this is liquid amber styrosiflua, stunning tree. It's got these beautiful sort of maple-like leaves, lovely red colour at this time of year. A very, very handsome tree. It does get big though. And a beautiful willow just by the water's edge, and I think some cornus on the other side. And then we come across another tree that we're planting in our own garden, and it's very exciting to see a mature version of this. This is Heptacodium mycinoides, and we've just spotted a little bird up on the top, and it's got these, it's also known as the 7 sunflower tree, because look at these beautiful flowers, and I love the leaves on this tree as well. It is a deciduous shrub or tree, and it will lose its leaves, but for now the leaves are still on, and they're quite kind of curly looking leaves. They're prominently 3 veined leaves, but they sort of curl back on themselves and give this lovely, lovely appearance. Through the blossoming period, the white flower crown falls and the calyx extends, turning purple red over several weeks. The bark of this tree is also of interest, especially as the tree matures. It turns a yellowish brown and starts to peel in long, long strips. So a lot going on with this tree. From a smallish tree to a majestic one, this is Metasequoia glyptostrobodes, or Dawn redwood. Isn't it beautiful, just reflected in the water? Stunning, stunning tree. This is a nice tree. This is a tree we saw at Chris Beardshaw's garden at Chelsea. This is Asculus indica, or Indian horse chestnut. It's a biggish tree, gets to 9 to 12 metres, but it's absolutely lovely, and at this time of year it's producing fruit, so it looks like the conkers that we expect to see from horse chestnuts, only slightly different, a little bit smaller, but this is what it looks like. Lovely deep mahogany colour. Not a tree, but fantastic autumn colour nonetheless. This is an oak leaf hydrangea, And just look at the beautiful colours of this. This is called Snow Queen. When I come to a garden, I nearly always spot something that I'm not familiar with, and today this is it. This is a maton tree, or Matonus borea. It's a slow-growing evergreen tree, gets to about 9 to 15 metres. To me, it looks quite kind of bamboo-like in its leaves, and it's native to South America, so I'm guessing lots of you guys are really familiar with it. So let me know in the comments what your experiences are of it. And the next tree we've just spotted is this medlar tree. So it's distinguished by these rather unusual looking fruits, and it's covered, actually, it's laden with fruit. If you are thinking of planting a medlar, this is a good one. It's Nottingham, and it generally has more fruit and larger fruit, so it's a really good one to try. It's quite a small tree, and it's not particularly long lived, lives to about 60 years, but it will produce fruit after the apples and the pears. And here we can see the results of a recent tree planting project. More than 100 flowering cherry trees have been planted at Hyde Hall as part of a nationwide cherry tree project that symbolises friendship and cooperation with Japan and the UK. And I'm sure there's lots of trees we haven't included, but this is our final tree, and this is beautiful crabapple. In fact, there's lots of crabapples planted here at Hyde Hall. And we can just see the lights are just starting to come on in preparation for the glow event that will be taking place shortly. So they're obviously just testing out that everything's working. So I think you'll agree there's still so much colour even at this time of the year. So if ever you feel despondent about going into winter, you needn't do, because there's so much that you can have in your garden to provide that interest all year round. So thank you very much for watching, and join us again in the next video. Bye for now.